Okay. Um, so let's talk about where life is a little bit unreasonable, and um, I'm going to give you a couple examples to kind of prime your your thinking a little bit. Give you a little more time to think at the same time. Okay. So yesterday, I had to go to Globe to pay my bill. Y'all know how that is. Paying my first Filipino bill. Um, and so I had to go to Globe, but I got there before they opened. And I'd walked. And clearly I walked faster than I anticipated I was walking because I was hot and I had started to sweat. And I was hungry. And a couple doors down from Globe were two or three different cafes. And I'm thinking, oh, perfect. Let me go steal some AC. And we're just going to go inside and I'm going to pretend to look at their menu and steal some AC. You ever done that? Okay. So I went in and the thing that I've learned here in the Philippines that y'all are really good at. I don't even think y'all realize that y'all are good at this. Um, is if you go into a restaurant in the US and ask for a menu, they'll just hand you the menu and they'll leave you at the front and they'll just hand you the menu and they walk away. Like they don't even care. They realize you're just wasting their time. But here in the Philippines, when you go and you ask for a menu, they force you to sit down. They're like, have a seat, have a seat, have a seat. Come on, sit, sit, sit. And they give you the menu because they realize that if you sit and you have the menu, it's a lot harder to get up and leave and not order something. It's really brilliant. Um, that's an aside. And so I'm sitting there and I order a Monte Cristo. Do you know what a Monte Cristo is? Okay. It's I believe it's French. I believe it's a French sandwich. Okay. It was the godfather of the panini sandwich before panini sandwiches were a thing. And and it was also a little bit different because it was also a fried sandwich. So it was pressed and fried. It's really Count of Monte Cristo, the book, blah 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 blah. Really a whole thing. And I haven't seen it in a long time. It's been years since I saw a Monte Cristo on a menu, and they had a freaking Monte Cristo. It's like, oh, I'm gonna try their Monte Cristo. And so it comes out, and I do my normal. I take pictures and so on and so forth. And then their menu was this big old book, it's bound, big, massive book, right? And so then I go to take a picture of the book cover with the name. And as I'm taking the picture, my phone picks up that there's a QR code on the front. And it pops up that it's their Instagram, right? And I don't want to go to their Instagram. I just want to take the picture. So I take the picture. But as I'm taking the picture, it got me to thinking. And it got me to thinking because Caribbean Caterers has been our client for decades at this point. And one of the challenges that we've had with Caribbean caterers that they've had for decades is they may feed 500 people a week, but then out of those 500 people, maybe only five or six people know who actually fed them. And so it's a massive marketing opportunity that's always being missed. And we've done all sorts of things over the years to try to capitalize on that marketing opportunity. And so as I rolled over and scanned that QR code took the picture and the QR code thing popped up, it made me think for a moment, what if the impossible? So at every event, Caribbean prints a menu card for every single guest, right? That says, this is what you're going to be eating today. And it's this beautiful little, quarter sheet card. It's hard card stock. It's all beautiful and they do a great job with it. And I'm thinking, what if instead of printing the menu on the card like that, what if they put a QR code instead and it took them to a website that actually had the menu for that day on it? And it had pictures of each menu item, descriptions of each menu item, and the pictures that it had was actually pulling in from Instagram, because the big goal is for them to follow on social so that we can start conversations, right? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, but the amount of work, because it's already a lot of work to create the menu cards, to get them cut, to put them, that's already a lot of work. Now we're talking about creating a web page for every single event and a different QR code for every single event and making sure all that lines up. And oh my gosh. And then the images for every single event. And I'm thinking, that sounds like an impossibility. That sounds like something it's a fantasy. Nobody has that kind of time. Like, who has the time to do that? And are we going to suggest hiring a whole new human just to do that? And so I sent the idea to Jillian at Caribbean, and she immediately loved the idea and thought it was just brilliant. And so I'm thinking more about it, and I realized, okay, we can ask AI to do this. And about an hour later, I had actually, let me not even just say an hour later. Let me just put on. And it's not a true hour because I had to go to Globe and then go back home. But an hour after I got home and did something with it is probably a better way of saying it than a true hour. But an hour later, I had this. And they can come here and they can create a menu item, and it pulls in pictures from their Instagram, and then they can create an event. And this was a test event. And I mean, I only have one menu item in here right now, but it has the event name and blah, blah, blah. You can choose a color scheme, and it shows all of the items for the event and has all of an hour later. This was an impossibility and something that seemed ridiculous and outlandish to ask. I'm doing a stage tonight at like 1 a.m. Gotta love those. And I'm teaching on AI, and I'm teaching on AI employees, and I'm teaching on how to build AI employees. And, we've done this as a web class for a while. And in the web class, we kind of give away this prompt that it's a decent prompt that helps you kind of think through the whole process of the web class. But I mean, of creating an AI employee. But the challenge with the prompt is it still takes brain power. You still got to understand what the prompt is doing. You still got to modify it for yourself and put it in a way that it can actually work well for you to do what it is that you want to do. Okay. And so this morning, I took an hour. And when I say I took an hour, I literally mean I took an hour. Like, one thing, come back. Come on. Come on. It's thinking. Like, literally, what does this say? December 9th at 5:57 a.m. And give me a timestamp on this last one. December 9th at 6:18 a.m. Okay. Now this is what it took to build it, but before that, I went and I just did it again. This mouse is driving me nuts. I gotta fix my mouse. Great. Now it does that. And so what I did was I first went to Gemini and I said, okay, I'm building an N8N agent that's going to take input and produce a prompt, blah, 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 blah. And And this is what I wanted to do, and it wrote out everything that I needed. It wrote out everything that I needed right here. Okay. And then I just took that into Lovable and I just did it again. This mouse is driving me nuts. It is like one click is processing at like three. Anyway, and then I took it all into here and I said, hey, I'm building this Typeform type application, blah, blah, blah. It's got 5 questions. So I had my idea of this is the impossible thing. I went to Gemini and said, hey, Gemini, if I were to do this, how would I do this? And Gemini said, okay, you think that you should ask 3 questions, but you really should be asking 5 questions. Here are the 5 questions that you should be asking. And here's the prompt that will get the user to the end where they have their final prompt that can build an AI employee for them. Okay. And so then I came in and I wrote this little prompt here. And then I asked it to clean it up a little bit because it was how it was working. So 2 prompts in here. And I built this entire app that now walks through and asks you questions about the AI employee that you want to build. And then it gives you the prompt that will build that AI employee for you. So this is just a couple examples of ridiculous things that just like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of ridiculous to ask for. But an hour later, ridiculous was reality. Question to you. What are the ridiculous things? What are the ridiculous things in your job or role that you don't even want to ask? So as the human brain works, I know you're thinking of something. There's something in your mind, and you're convincing yourself not to say it, or you're convincing yourself, I don't know how to say it. And that's exactly what I want you to say right now.
Me when I'm answering like clients inquiries or clients replies on Marco's email. So when I received an email, there's a like example when it's a long email or it's an asset from a client. So what I'm doing is that I'm just digesting it on my own, and then afterwards, I'm gonna proceed to Miss Laika and ask if we have the same understanding with this one, like that. But yeah, most likely I wouldn't want to ask questions about that because there are replies that are direct to the point, like that. So yeah, I think that's the most ridiculous thing for me.
So, so what is the ridiculous thing you want something that can do the replies for you?
Sorry. I wanted to, uh, okay. So for me, the most ridiculous thing that I don't want to, ask questions or ask help from others is that, when a client replies and then it needed our replies, we're using Marco's email. So I don't want to ask help for that because, it's like, I'm saying to myself that I can do this on my own because, it's just a reply. So yeah.
Okay. So what is it about the reply that gives you pause and makes you want to ask for clarity or insight about if you're doing it correct?
Uh, there is this one time wherein Dr. Ariana sent a lot of assets, and I'm not familiar with the event that she's holding, and it's a forwarded message from her as well. So I'm not sure what to do with that. I'm not sure who to send the email, or if I will send the email to the SMM team, or if I will send the email to production team for, producing the video. So what I'm doing is that, I'm probably asking Miss Laika if we have the same clarity on this one, like that, because it's a lot of assets and I don't want to make a mistake for that.
Fantastic. Okay, so Nouella, I'm going to ask you to share that again, what you just said. Okay.
Okay. The most
All right. Hold
ridiculous
on. Hold on.
request.
Hold on. Hold
I'm
on.
sorry,
All right.
sorry.
I'll tell you when I'm ready.
Okay, sorry.
Second, let me think about this. Um, okay, I'm going to press record here, and then I'm going to say some stuff. And when I stop talking, that's when you start. Okay.
Okay.
So I want you to listen to this and tell me what is the underlying challenge that this person is having with completing their work.
Okay, so right now I'm currently handling email management, and when I receive the reply from a client, I don't want to ask help from other people, because I said to myself that I can do this and I can do that. I can digest every word that they are sending us, and I can digest every asset that they are sending us. But there are still some replies, or there are still some messages or emails that I wanted to ask help to from other people, because I don't think I can digest all that on my own, especially when we are receiving a lot of assets from other people or from other clients. So yeah, I wanted to ask also for clarity, but I'm not sure. So that's just ridiculous about my task.
Thank you. Which of these is true of you?
One and two.
So knowing her, number one and number two are her biggest issues. So looking at those, what's the common theme of what would help her be, I guess, more confident or be able to be better in these situations? What is it that she needs there? Yeah, so sometimes the mouse triple clicks and then sometimes it doesn't click at all. I'm telling you, this mouse is driving me nuts. And I've had this mouse a long time too. Like I really like this mouse. I've always liked this mouse. And it's only like, I don't know, maybe it just doesn't like Asia. Because it's only as soon as I got here that it started acting up. So yeah, I guess you read, you tell me. Is this making sense to you?
Yes, a lot of sense.
So there's something that jumps out at me, which is when you first told us the story that I heard. Um, and said it somewhere. No, I'm missing it. I actually said the word context. You said you got a lot of files from Ariana and you didn't even know about the event. You didn't have context. The questions that you're asking are context questions. And so the ridiculous thing to ask for here is how can I gain context on every email that's coming in? Because if you had context on every email, you would know exactly what to do. If you knew, oh, this was, we knew that Ariana had just done a Bob Live, and this is all the info from the Bob Live. If you knew that we've been having password reset issues with this user, and now they're talking about password reset again, and this is the 15th email that they sent that they're about password reset, but the first one that you're seeing, then you would have context on how to deal with them. So here's my question to you. Would context solve your problem?
Yes, totally. It will. Because once I know the context, I already know what next actions or what are the next steps that I will be doing. So yeah, context is a lot of, will be a lot of help for me.
And so understand that you have an impossible question, a ridiculous question to ask, and in a situation. And what did we do? We came to AI and said, hey, tell me what's going on here. And then we just describe the situation. And then we continue asking questions until we understand. We're looking for what's the root of what's really going on. Right?
Yes.
And when it comes down to psychological permission, you probably don't feel like you need psychological permission. I don't think you feel like you have a problem asking questions, that people are going to look at you funny if you ask the question, but it is down here in the decision making. And so it's going to give stuff back to you. And just like it did up front, it gave us 5 things. And we said, oh, no, only these 2 are relevant. Okay, let's dig into those 2. Oh, now only this one is relevant. Okay, let's dig into that one. And it would have got us all the way down to your real issue is you don't know the context. And so then you ask the question that you have to come and ask is, okay, so my ridiculous thing that I want to know and figure out is how do I get better context on everything? What can I do to get better context? Okay, so we think we figured it out. It's context. If she had the context of every single email and every single situation, then she would be able to make better decisions. She wouldn't have to ask any more questions. She's not having a psychological issue with asking questions. It's just that, she feels that she should know the answers to some of these questions, but she doesn't have the context. So how can she, in a business environment, gain context on all of the emails that are coming in? You always have to be careful here with AI because you can lead AI because it will always tell you you're right. It'll always make you feel good. And so you want to make sure you're asking questions where you leave it in a place where it is the one doing the thinking, not you dictating to it what to think. Okay. Okay. A repeatable way to acquire context before acting. Okay. So only 4 ways to get context in a business environment. Ooh. Access to a central store of truth. Okay. And even knows that we use GHL. How about that? Okay. Context checklist. Okay. And so now we have these 4, according to it, things that if you had these are the only ways to gain context in a business environment. And so now your ridiculous thing is, how do I gain all of this? Okay. How do I gain all of this? How do I get it? You just ask. And as we go through this, you'll start to see the impossible become reality. Now, in your mind, it might still be impossible because it may start to get a little bit technical and you may say, oh, I don't understand some of this technical stuff. That's great. But here's the thing. If it told you this is the way you do it, then you can come to us and say, hey, this is what I got. I don't understand it all, but it's saying it's possible. Decide exactly what context means. So you got to know, right? That makes sense. Okay. Never get stuck and scared of when it puts a code block. Read the English. Okay. Because you understand, decide exactly what context means. That makes sense to you, doesn't it?
Yes.
Number 2, Map where each piece of data lives. That makes sense to you, doesn't it?
Yes.
And couldn't you figure all of this out? All right, most of the stuff we know.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Choose your orchestrator. Okay. All right. So you need to listen for the new emails and then go get all the information and interpret stuff using ChatGPT. Okay. He even gave us a suggestion on the architecture that we already use. Fine. That may confuse you. That's okay. You don't need to understand that. You don't need to understand. It's telling you how to do it. And this is the part that you bring to us. Build the flow. Right? The trigger on a new email. That makes sense. Right? You want to go grab all this stuff, grab the threads that AI identified a client and the intent. Boom, boom, boom. Look up the client in your systems, assemble all raw data, and send to the context agent. Ooh. All right. You got some code here. We can ignore the code for now. We're just going to read the English. And I'm not even just reading the English, I'm just reading the headlines. All right. Decide how your team sees and uses this. Okay. All right. Whether using Slack or how. Okay. Great, great, great. And then you must put some guardrails. Okay. Fine. Okay. So that's how we do it. It can be done. Wouldn't it be cool if this was real?
Yes.
You just got the blueprint of how to make it real. You thought this was ridiculous 20 minutes ago. But you took your ridiculous problem and you walk through a series of steps of just asking AI, hey, what are you hearing? What's really going on here? What's underlying here? Let it dig, let it find the problem with your assistance. And then once it finds the problem and you agree on the problem, okay, how can we solve this? How does this make you feel?
It feels like, I can have my support now, wherein, I can just ask AI for the context like that. So it would be a lot easier on my part as well. And I think if we can do this, or if we can build this, then it will be a lot easier for me. And, I'll be more confident. And also, I don't, what do you call this? I will not have a hard time looking for context for emails like that. So yeah, I think it's super cool.
Okay. Lara, what's the ridiculous thing for you?
It's the podcast booking sa Atiba. I find it slow, sorry, for the agency, even their responses. So we make inquiries with them because sometimes like for example last week. So they introduced us to this podcast, and then we followed up with a coordinator from the other side. However, she's not responding to us. So we sent like three follow-up emails, and then there's no response from her. So what I did is I did reach out to Jude. Jude, maybe you can help me. Because the case is like this. And at the same time, I also mentioned your request for the video and audio recording of the podcast. And then it took them like another week before, I mean, a whole week.
Who is them?
S- The podcast agency. So
Jude.
I sent a Jude an email last week, and then she just came to me now. Well, to be fair, she says that she's sick. However, let's say that Jude is sick. The follow-up emails I sent to the coordinator, podcast coordinator from the other side, all the people from the agency, their researches, the one who finds the podcasts, they are all CC'd there. And it's like no one is paying attention to what I am saying. So I have to reach out to Jude just to know what is happening. And actually, this is not the first time that Jude's response is a little bit late. So it's like, I find it ridiculous. And also, I have this feeling that I wish, I know the podcast agency is giving us podcasts. However, they are giving us 3 podcasts a month. And I have this ridiculous thought that I wish I could add add to the podcast that they are giving us. I mean, I wish I could find podcasts for ourselves because I understand your point that we need as many podcasts as possible. But we I am not contented with the number of podcasts that they are giving us. So I felt ridiculous about it and I wish I could do something about it. But it may interlap. Um I might find something and they might be talking to it already. So there might be a conflict there. So I just wish I can find podcast for you to add to the 3 that they are giving us because I find it ridiculous, Atiba, sorry, considering the manpower and the connections that they do have, and yet they are giving you 3 podcasts a month. Um, I've sorry, but I really find that I understand if they
Well,
can give. Sorry.
that's what we paid for. It was either 3 or 4, but that's what we paid for.
Yes, I understand that.
So
I
why do you
I
find it ridiculous that they're giving us what we paid for?
Um, mm, I no, it's not really like that. It's just let's say we paid for 3 or 4 podcasts. I wish I could add to it. I wish I could do a research of myself.
That's
And
why we
then
built, but that's Lara, that's why we built the referral system. That's the point.
yes, but I'm sorry, but I find we do have a referral system, but most of the podcast bookings were like for January next year. And I know
Okay.
Sophia is already starting. I've already coordinated with Sophia. So with regards to the approach on this, since the two of us will be working on this. So what we will do is I will send the connection. So I asked Sophia, what do you think would be the
Okay,
best
hold
approach?
on. What
Sorry.
we were trying to get to what you think is your ridiculous thing. But you
Sorry,
said you
sorry.
you want to book more and you already have a process to book more. And we haven't been able to execute it yet because we're just getting started with their shows.
Yes. Because the first one is, Brian. So you mentioned that there's
So,
no
okay. So you have a process in place. You're just being impatient.
a little bit.
All right. Now, if we get 5, 6 shows in and it's not working, then we start talking about, okay, how do we change it?
Okay.
Okay.
Also,
But we pushed
sorry.
them off. We pushed all the bookings off till January because I moved to Asia and December is in holidays.
Yeah.
So the delay is our fault. I hear you getting very frustrated with Jude and the agency for doing their job.
No, Atiba. Um, it's not like that. I do understand it. The frustration is for myself. I wish I could add to what they are doing. Yes, they are giving us this podcast. I wish I could get, look for podcast for our own, on our own. Like instead of let's say they are giving us 3 podcasts, then maybe for a month you can have 6 because 3 would be coming from them and then 3 would be coming for us. That way, yes, I know we have a referral
Yes.
system.
And we've done that before. We weren't successful, if you remember, which is why I paid a ton of money to hire them.
Yes, I do. But I don't want to give up. Sorry. But yeah.
I appreciate you not wanting to give up. And where I need that energy is in making the referral system actually work.
Yes, actually with regards to that, I've already like what you are doing in ChatGPT, actually that's my way too. So what I do is I've asked ChatGPT on how to get referrals, and then what ChatGPT told me is, please paste the link of the podcast here, and I'll find suitable names for you so that you can I can present them to you. So I did that, and that's where all the list of the names, possible big referral names, on the podcast dossiers came from. So because
Okay.
it's impossible for me to know them because I am not familiar with them. Like for example, I saw this name John Smith. I would not know that this John Smith was a doctor. I would not know that this John Smith is big time. However, AI would know. They would
Correct.
have enough information. So that's what I did. I did a prompt in my chat GPT. Actually, it's just a regular chat GPT where I named it, it's podcast dossier referrals, and then I'll just put the prompt in there, and then every time I just put in the podcast name and the link of the podcast, and from there it would give me names, and then from those names I would pick because sometimes they give us like 50 7 to 15 names, and some of them are suitable, so I'll pick which I think would be best referral for you, so you would have like a heads up on the guests that could possibly be a strong referral for you. So I
Okay.
am, yeah,
Was this helpful, ladies?
yeah,
Nouella, I will share this chat with you. Hold on. This is the definition of being curious. You've got to ask the ridiculous questions. You can no longer be timid. What's the worst that happens? You ask a ridiculous question and the AI comes back and says, that's ridiculous. Okay, well, you thought it anyway. But if you ask a ridiculous question and it comes back and says, oh, I can help you with that, look at how you can find an answer, an understanding. Okay. Um, in point of fact, I know we just walked through with you, Nouella, that whole thing. Google Gemini already does this. I think Chat does it too, but I think Gemini does it better. And I think they already have a tool that can help you do this, where it will actually go through all of the past emails and anything on in Google Drive to help you figure out the context for responding to email. So just do some research on that.
Yes, I will do that.
Okay. Before we go, anything else, ladies?
None else from me. I'm good.
Lara,
Of course, I do have Atiba. So I sent you um possible stages both in person and virtual. So in persons here in the Philippines and virtual speaking opportunities in the US. So if you can check them out, please.
what do you need me to do, Lara? Why do I have to check them out?
If be no, just to see if you think you
Why do I
like
have to?
them.
Why do I have to check them out? How long have you been doing this? Why do I have to check them out?
Because before,
I'm not going to check them out.
okay, I'll apply Atiba. So that would be, so I will just put in the stages and everything. And also the networking events, because especially just in BGC. So yeah, and the other thing, Sophia, with regards to the list that you've mentioned last week, the list of doctors from Marian. So Sophia already had that list. I checked in with her, and she's already targeting those doctors for the web class.
The bigger question, yeah, that's great. But it was for you because you couldn't find doctors in GHL.
Yes, I will
And
edit
so,
the GH. Sorry, I got busy
so
last week, but I will also edit the GHL profiles of the doctors. So we can, I'll tag them one by one so that we can have them in a quick search. So
okay.
yeah, that's it for me.
All right. Ladies, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you, Atiba. Bye.
Atiba, excuse me. Sorry. Can I speak for you? 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.